Dear viewers, today's build is a very deadly wizard capable of dealing high damage with no perks in destruction skill and commanding a full squad of creatures with no conjuration. He also dominates the battlefield through mind control and incapacitating alteration spells. Yet again, I've been surprised and amazed by the power of illusion and alchemy combined. I called him the White Wizard, in honor of Saruman the White, the greatest of the 5 wizards of Middle-earth. The build is heavily inspired by that character, and since the wizards of J.R.R. Tolkien's universe don't really cast that many spells, I decided to build most of his power by collecting some unique and useful staffs and limit myself when it comes to explosive destruction spells. Saruman is also a leader of his own army of orcs, hence we will rely on a tanky orc follower in our conquest of the dungeons of Skyrim. The elven name of Saruman, Kurunir, means master of cunning devices, and thus we will achieve greatness in all crafting skills, which will let us to use some spells from schools we don't put perk points in. So, one of the most powerful mage characters I've ever played only needs 2 magic schools, alteration and illusion, and some staffs. Are you slightly impressed? Because I'm slightly impressed, but let's start with a little story. Your time with the College of Winterhold was an inspiring experience, but not to you, to your fellow students. Your natural charisma and brilliance in learning caused many of them to admire you, and some to envy. It was their envy that ruined your hopes for an amazing career. Savos, the Archmage, never liked you. He thought you were delusional and vain. Obviously, he had been intimidated by your skills. He suspected you may desire to become the Archmage yourself. His suspicion was correct, but you would never have tried to depose him or conspire against him. Well, not until someone told you the Archmage considered expelling you from the guild. That was enough. Your pride could not stand it. Before the final decisions were made, you studied ancient tomes of Daedric knowledge, in search for new powers, powers that would make you the supreme mage of Skyrim, powers that were lost or forgotten. Who would know more than Savos knew? Who would grant you the understanding of secrets no living man possesses? There is only one Master of Secrets, and his name is Hermaeus Mora. So you made a pact with the Daedric Prince, your eternal service for his knowledge. In the darkness of the Midden, you made a pact signed in blood and magicka. And just as you wanted to start preparing for the inevitable assassination of the Archmage, Mora showed you the future. Savos will be dead soon anyway. You do not need to lift a finger, but there are other tasks for you. Tasks for which the reward is not only the chief position in the college, but the rule of the whole of Skyrim. And so you left Winterhold to start this quest for power. There is another Daedric Lord you should strike a deal with, and his children will follow you blindly, because they understand true power, because none can resist your will. Soon you will drive the gears of war with the spell and the sword and the iron fist of the orc. Let's start, as per usual, with the race, which is practically irrelevant for most of your build. However, I went for a Nord, as it gave me the proper Saruman-like height and appearance. The battlecry power, albeit useless later in the game, granted me some starting crowd control option, which goes nicely with the theme of the build. The attributes ratio displayed on screen should result in a balanced and comfortable gameplay, and with your high enchanting there is really no point in investing more than that in your magicka. You will be able to use many enchantment slots for Fortify Magicka effect, because there are only 2 skills you need to increase, and you will have no need for magic resistances. The latter is because of the Atronach perk in Alteration skill and the Atronach Stone ability. This powerful combination makes you ignore Mages and Dragon Breath and never worry about running out of magicka. Later in the game you will also have an option to block the Dragon Breath completely with the Staff of Magnus, as the dragons, unlike you, use magicka for the Thum powers. The skill set for our build is dictated by the main inspiration, the character of Saruman. So we put perks in all crafting skills and crowd control magic. Let's start with the essential illusion skill. There is nothing more important in your repertoire than this marvelous skill. Even the starting courage spell will go a long way with a proper fighter doing your dirty work for you. With the dual casting, which should be taken ASAP, even the low tier spells will be very useful up until the late game. Nevertheless, you should do everything you can, including paying for training, to max the skill out early. Once you get the Master of the Mind perk, you can control the behavior of pretty much any type of enemies other than dragons, and it is exactly what Saruman should be capable of. The Master spells may be annoying to cast, but with 2 followers taking the heat of battle off you, and the invisibility spell, you should be able to cast Mayhem from time to time if you so choose. Another heavily perked magic skill will be Alteration, and its main purpose this time isn't the Mage Armor perk or armor spells, since your enemies won't be able to touch you so very often. The Atronach, however, combined with your Standing Stone, makes you almost immune to magical attacks, and the Paralyze spell is what makes this build powerful. There is this combo of Paralyzing, Wall of Lightning spell and Fortified Destruction potion, which will knock your enemies in a matter of seconds with very little cost in magicka. Hence the stability and dual cast perks, both of which make the paralysis effect last longer. Depending on the situation, you may also employ the famous Equilibrium spell to ensure even more magicka. Equilibrium, used when the dragon aspect shout is in effect, will cause the spirit of an ancient dragonborn to spawn next to you, giving you yet another soldier on the battlefield. With this combo, you are basically summoning a long-lost dragonborn spirit, sacrificing your own blood. Amazing! It is uncommon to see a mage engaging in the craft of weapon and armor smithing, but here the power of your followers is a huge part of your playstyle, so you should try to make their equipment as potent as possible. I went for ebony smithing mainly for aesthetic purposes. However, it's rather easy to reach the armor cap with tempered ebony armor, and this build doesn't need that many perk points anyway, so you may consider going even higher, up to Daedric or even dragon smithing. Arcane Blacksmith is a low priority investment, but it will be required for Dwarven Blackbow of Fate, which will be one of the best weapons available for your followers. Now a few words about enchanting, which we will use mainly for fortifying our attributes, with heavy focus on Fortify Magicka and Fortify Magicka regeneration effects. As has been mentioned, not much else is needed, because you can safely skip any resistances you would normally need to stay alive on higher difficulties. Lowering the cost of spells of your two main schools is advisable. However, with the total magicka pool of nearly 500, you can cast some spells from schools you have no training for, like Fireball, for example, or Conjure Ash Guardian. The latter gives you another very powerful ally, assuming you have some Heartstones ready, and with your Master of the Mind perk you can boost him with a rally spell. As far as weapons go, it's a no-brainer to go for Absorb Health and Absorb Stamina for the main weapon of your follower, and whenever they switch to ranged combat, they will use the Black Bow of Fate, so they will keep absorbing the life force of your enemies, no matter the circumstances. And finally, we have the Alchemy skill, which you should probably try to max out as soon as you obtain the Hevnorak's staff, to squeeze as much power from it as humanly possible. You have no way of applying poisons, so you will not go that way on the perk tree, and generally the benefits of this skill to your combat style will become noticeable after 2 or 3 ranks of Alchemist being unlocked, so it is a very cost-effective way to become more powerful. After some testing, I felt it's not necessary for this character to create some elaborate multi-effect concoctions, since the only effect that's truly required for your tactics is the Fortified Destruction effect. It will allow you to spray the insanely powerful lightning from your staff all over the place, dealing over 100 points of damage per second to anything that goes through, and almost nothing has resistance to shock. Hehehe. Earlier in the game, the Fortify Illusion and Alteration potions may be of much use as well. They will make your spells last longer, and you will be able to control the minds of higher level enemies. So, as I said, get the Hevnorak's staff when you can. Obtaining it before level 20 may be a bit of a chore, in that it may require some reloading and screaming at your screen in frustration, but you will have your well-equipped followers to help you. The unique combat technique I used this staff for is one of the most powerful combos I've seen so far, assuming your opponent is not resistant to paralyzes. So the way it works is you cast a paralyze spell on an enemy and then spray the lightning from the staff on them. Very, very simple. And very few enemies will be able to make a comeback from this, especially if you are stocked with Fortified Destruction potions. Another staff in your collection will be the Ethereal staff, which I thought will fit quite well in the theme of the Master of Cunning Devices. You should get it as soon as you feel you can deal with the prerequisite quest, and then use it as often as you can. Of course, it becomes even more useful with the Master of the Mind Illusion perk. The Staff of Magnus is less useful than advertised in the game description, unfortunately, but you should still keep it in case of dragons and powerful mages, as the effect of the staff makes them completely unable to use magic most of the times. And then, in the realm of endgame weaponry, you can use the Mirak's staff. This one is just incredibly useful tool, both for dealing some damage to multiple enemies and crowd control. You can even go overboard, equip both of your Hallmark staffs, and spray lightning as far away as you can, and then tentacles from Mirak's staff a bit closer, putting a death zone between you and your foes. And you may also consider getting the Sanguine's Rose Daedric artifact for your follower, because they will use it to summon yet another soldier for you. If you want to go with the aesthetics I chose for this character, the red robes, They are called red robes in the game, but they look predominantly white to me. The red robes can sometimes be sold in radiant raiment in Solitude or gifted to you by your adopted children. So, the key combos for this build has been explained already, but just for the sake of clarity, let me show you the list of all the crucial spells. Nearly all the illusion spells will be of use, however, the ones that boost your allies and the fury spells will be used most frequently. As a no-armor character, you will have no troubles casting a few rage spells from afar before being detected, even with no training in sneak. This will make it much easier for your servants to successfully hack and slash them to pieces. I would also advise using the dual-casted Detect Life spell ahead of time to plan your strategy and account for the number of nearby enemies. The armor spells are worth buying, but you will only need them occasionally, especially in these boss fights with waves of draugrs coming at you one after another. Keep using the Conjure Ash Guardian spell, as it is rather cheap for its power and it doesn't count as a summoning slot, so essentially you can have both your Dwemer's Fear from your staff and the Ash Guardian at one time. You need Heartstones to keep the Guardian from attacking you and your team, however with High Illusion you can just calm him down afterwards. Several shouts may be useful to this character, however the bare minimum is the two-word version of Bend Will and Dragon Aspect. Bend Will can really sway the tide of battle and serves as an equivalent to the extremely persuasive voice of Saruman. Dragon Aspect is generally good for everything, really, and it has this side effect of summoning an ancient Dragonborn to protect you whenever you are below 50% of health, and they can use shouts of their own, these Dragonborns. You can also add some finishing touches to the build with the Blessing of Akatosh and the Black Book power of Bardic Knowledge, which improves the stamina regeneration of all your followers. With all that, it is safe to say you will need to go through the Dragonborn questline at your first convenience to truly refine this build. And that concludes today's build. Hope you enjoyed the video and will enjoy the build should you choose to try it yourself. Hope you will have lots of fun with it. Bye bye.